602-762-2601. 602-762-2601. 602-762-2601.
Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX.
And now, live from the downtown studios of KFNX News Talk Radio 1100, it's time for The Pulse, Arizona's healthcare radio show. Your voice for healthcare issues locally, around the state, and across the nation. Here now, consultant, advocate, and provider of healthcare services in Arizona, Elizabeth Singleton.
Hello, and welcome to The Pulse AZ, or the Pulse, on KFNX 1100. I'm your host, Elizabeth Singleton, and you can find us on the web at thepulseaz.com or Facebook at The Pulse AZ Radio. Today we're going to be talking about parental alienation and trying to provide co-parenting. And there's nothing that gets us all going as parents than when we're going through a divorce, and then we have to make parental arrangements if we have children involved. And we find ourselves in a position where co-parenting comes in play, but then we also have those relationships, I've seen those relationships out where parents cannot agree on raising their children. Our guest today is ShaRon Rea. She's the author and founder of The Whole Family. She has over 30 years experience in the field of education, communication, childcare, and public services. She is a certified life coach with in the expertise of parenting issues for parents of teens, parents moving through divorce, committed relationships, and raising happy families. And I just want to say welcome today, Ms. Rea.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Good morning. It's a beautiful Saturday today.
It's gorgeous outside for a change.
Can you give our audience a little background history on what you do at The Whole Family?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The Whole Family is my company that I started about a year and a half ago, based on my own personal experience as a parent. Mm-hmm. I have 2 children. They're teenagers, and as we all who are parents of teens know, it's a little challenging to find the joy in raising your teens.
I'm there now.
And so I also went through another transition as a parent when I got divorced. Mm-hmm. And those 2 transitions for parents, from my experience, cause you to need to have to make a transition in how you parent your children, so that you can retain your calm, you can have fun, and you, more importantly, can adjust to what's happening with your kids. So from that perspective, I created my company, which is called The Whole Family. It's parent coaching and mentoring for parents of teenagers, parents who are moving through divorce, and then as well parents who want to just raise happy and healthy children. Mm-hmm. My focus in the parenting through divorce caused me to write a book. Mm-hmm. And I'm very proud of this book because after 5 years of moving after our divorce, my children became involved in the project, which said to me that they are adjusting, mm-hmm. they're able to speak about it, mm-hmm. and do something. And they're living a healthier, different life than we were when we were married. Okay. My older daughter, who was 15 at the time of our divorce, wrote the foreword for the book. Mm-hmm. My younger daughter, who loves to draw, did all the artwork for the book. Wow. And the title of the book is Children and Divorce, Parenting Tips to Help Your Family Cope and Adjust.
And some of those tips we are going to discuss more about the books later on the show, but, just share with my audience what parental alienation is.
Well, parental alienation, in my view, there are a lot of people that have a specific title for it, the specific definition, but what it is to me is that when parents are divorced, they sometimes are unable to see their children still as our children, and they become my children. And when you couple that with a parent who has anger, who has resentment, who has some feelings that they are being less than appreciated, they then want to take that out as a battle and then remove that child from the other parent. it becomes a win-lose situation. So every action that they take is centered around keeping that child away from the other parent, not allowing that child to love the other parent. And that is a really good definition of parent alienation. You are alienating the other parent out of your child's life.
And what's the highest population of the alienation? Is that male or female?
I think it may not be exactly equal, but it's close. I mean, it doesn't really only pertain to a man doing this towards a woman, or a father doing this towards a mother, or a mother doing it towards a father. It is the behavior inherent in the parent that causes them to want to keep that child away from the other parent.
And how is this affecting the child as a whole?
Oh, the effect is detrimental to the child. A child inherently wants to love both of their parents. They need both of their parents. And when you're forcing a child to choose, it's child abuse. It basically is. Some of the other effects are their self-esteem gets lowered. They get depressed more often than not. They have anger management issues because they see one parent treating another parent in an angry way, and they don't understand that. You guys used to be together.
Correct.
You used to love each other. What happened that now you can't just be in two separate places? You have to treat each other so terribly. Sometimes it shows up as sleeping problems or sleeping disorders. They may revert to something even more harmful as drugs and alcohol, their way of coping, because they don't have two healthy adults in their lives to help them cope.
And when the child is seen, and I've noticed where I've had a friend who, she started the process of divorce, went through a divorce, was divorced for 3 years, having very good communication with the father. He then remarried, and then that relationship ended, and now it's just this big battle, and I see them both going at each other, one to another, and the children are involved. So now her youngest child is acting out in school, starting to have bad grades. The oldest child is in the process of being depressed. He doesn't ever want to be alone, this, and then it's this back and forth arguing, and your parent said this and she did this, and showing what each parent is doing in their environment. Look how bad they are. Is that a form of that?
Without a doubt, absolutely.
And how do you stop that?
Well, the basis for my company and the way I help parents that I work with is every positive relationship, every relationship that you have begins with you. And when you are aware of what your fears are, what your angers are, what the buttons are that get pushed, what your triggers are, you don't have to have them all fixed and healed, but you need to be aware of them. Because as parents, our goal is to raise a child independent. Find out what that child's needs are. Find out what that child's joys are and raise them to enhance those. But when we take on our own perspective, our own anger isn't healed, our own mental state is not healthy, then we place those things upon our children and our actions follow that. So we can't have another parent involved because we're filling the holes in our heart and ourselves with our child.
Well, I mean, I know some parents feel like they have to protect their children from the other parent. And is that a form of control?
That is absolutely a form of control. However, you do have to be aware of where there is a real danger for your child and absolutely protect your child from that. And it may be the behavior of your former spouse. But once again, that filter gets clouded when you have your own agenda coming through and deciding whether that parent truly is a harm to your child or is a harm to your child based on your lack of self-esteem or your self-centeredness. Well,
and I see the constant belittling of each parent. And this is, I see a lot of it mothers towards fathers, especially because of either that person left me for someone else or I was never good enough or whatever the situation was, but then the father is completely attacked and he's always proving himself and in court and fighting these battles that's ongoing. It's a I want $2 more. I used to owned a child care center, and I would tell the parents, your children aren't paychecks. It's not about so much how much more money you're going to get today. your child is failing in school. Your child is coming with all of these discipline actions that we have to take towards them. There's other things that you need to focus on as parents than fighting, especially in front of that child. I look at it like the communication gap between harassment between to a father or mother in this scope, as far as I'm not going to have, you can't see the child unless you pay me. You can't see the child unless you do. We're about to go into break, and we'll talk more about this. You're listening to The Pulse on KFNX 1100. When we come back, we'll be taking your calls at 602-277-KFNX. Again, you're listening to The Pulse, and we'll be back after the break.
Sure, starting the workday can be tough, but doing it without the energy you need can be just plain brutal. I know because I've been there. I know firsthand what it's like to go through the day feeling, well, not 100%. My lack of energy affected my ability to focus, whether it be work or fun. I decided that wasn't going to work for me, and I called Nature's Youth and got started on a better me. Don't settle for daily pick-me-up quick fixes. Get all-day energy with help from my friends at Nature's Youth. Nature's Youth, the anti-aging experts, had you in mind when they developed Nature's Youth RSF. It's an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. Naturally. You see, elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. You deserve a better you, and Nature's Youth can help. Call today and try Nature's Youth RSF. Better yet, go on and put it in your speed dial. Trust me. Get started. 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923, or visit naturesyouth.com.
Tech Plus Automotive is your complete luxury import vehicle specialist in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area. Tech Plus Automotive has factory-trained ASC-certified mechanics to repair your BMW, Mercedes, Jaguar, Land Rover, Volvo, Audi, Lexus, or Infiniti right the first time. You've made a substantial investment in your luxury vehicle. Trust it to the pros. And during the month of September, enjoy a 10% labor discount. Call Tech Plus Automotive, 480-607-1177, or visit them at techplusautomotive.com.
Plenty of medals were given to some overachieving and well-deserved athletes recently in London. When it comes to fair, honest, and reliable service, there is a deserving gold medalist right here in your own backyard, Virginia Auto Service. If you live or work downtown, get gold medal service for your car right on the corner of 7th Street in Virginia. A Bosch Service Center, A+ rated with the BBB, boot to bonnet. Oh, you know what I mean, bumper to bumper. Virginia Auto Service knows how to take care of their customers. See them online at virginiaautoservice.com.
Singleton's Real Health Outpatient and Wellness Centers provide housing resources to those in need. We also offer treatment services in the areas of mental health, physical well-being, counseling, advocacy, education, and empowerment for independence. We work with other care providers and businesses to provide total care for the mind and body. Call 602-626-8150. Singleton's Real Health Outpatient and Wellness Centers, devoted to empowering our community. To see if we can be of help to you, call 602-626-8150.
You know what I'm just discovering?
Somebody's gotta say it.
This is liberating.
That's why Neil Bortz is on the radio.
I've announced my retirement, and at this point, it's Gamma Alpha Sigma. This is the daily meeting of the Gamma Alpha Sigma fraternity. So every day, right here, my brothers and sisters in the Gamma Alpha Sigma fraternity meet for a daily discussion.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
The Neil Bortz Show. Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KFNX. Independent Talk. 1100 KFNX.
Hello and welcome back to The Pulse. I'm your host, Elizabeth Singleton. And today we have on the show our guest, ShaRon Rea, author and founder of the Whole Family, and she is a life coach, and she helps families that are going through divorce and I guess dealing with and teaching your children just working with the total family.
Mm-hmm.
When we went off, we were kind of discussing, some of the ways that individuals can be alienated, and kind of give me a overview on ways that parents can isolate each other.
Well, one of the things that I am very, very active on is Facebook. We do have a lot of social media out there, and my Facebook page is The Whole Family. So www.facebook.com/The Whole Family. And there are a number of other organizations that I follow where their central focus is parent alienation. And I've learned a lot from them. One of them is the Love and Iron Project, conducted by a gentleman named Michael. And what he mentions is that first, parents, why and how they hurt their children by doing this act of parent alienation is that they are self-centered, and that they believe that their parenting style, what they bring to the family, is superior than the other parent. And so with that being your filter and that being the words that cause your actions, absolutely, if you think you're superior to someone, you're not going to want that person in your child's life. That causes that behavior of parent alienation. The second thing is, as he says, is that they recognize that joint custody decisions and decision-making will restrict their ability to be free. But the reality is, in my opinion and my experience, it becomes you have more freedom. Because when you're a separated family and you have the ability to parent your child on your time, you get to do the good, the bad, and the ugly there.
Correct.
And so you actually have more freedom. And then you mentioned the cost associated with it. And then that's his third point, is that there is a financial incentive for parents who are self-centered, who haven't found their balance, who haven't found their hearts and their souls, to limit or eliminate the child's time with the other parent because it's a cost benefit to them.
Correct.
And that could be either the father or the mother.
Well, yeah, and when you have where you can say, okay, if I have a child, twice a month, then the other person is going to receive so much based on time that's accepted. So if I isolate this parent to just having minimal time with their child, then I can receive more in benefits, and I can receive more because whether it's, if you're getting government benefits or child care or child support. But it really tears at the father. What I've seen or the father, the mother, whoever the parent is, to not be able, when a parent actually wants to be involved with the households that like they are right now, where parents are walking away from their children, walking away from their relationships, and you're seeing a lot more single parents. But when you have a parent who wants to be active within a child's life, who wants to play a role, and then you have another parent who is taking that away from them, and trying to control the situation, I see a lot of anger, a lot of hurt that is put in place. But what are you doing to that child to say that they can't see? What type of balance are you giving them?
None.
to isolate them in such a way? Are you thinking about them, or are you thinking about yourself?
You are coming from a place of frustration within your soul. And that is a very difficult place to have anybody else's interest at heart. When you are depleted, there is a hole in your heart. There's a part of you that isn't loved. You look back, I'm not a psychologist, but I can say that if you look back in your history and you, the parent that is doing this act of alienating another parent, somewhere in there you're feeling possibly unloved. You're feeling hurt. You're feeling less than. You're feeling, and which causes self-centered behavior. So you do want to restrict the time because you're using that child as your love button. And you want them to love you the most because, once again, that's coupled with, I think that other parent isn't doing the job that I think they should do, and I'm doing the job better. So I am, out of a little misguided discussion with yourself, I'm protecting my child from that other parent. Now, if that's an actual case where there's harm that could be done, then absolutely you want to do that. But more often than not, it's not. It's just an opinion. And that child not only deserves the right to be with both parents because they want to love, they grow up healthy, they understand how relationships work. But, it's for most children, it's very confusing to have a parent say, well, your dad or your mom is this behavior. When the child is in that person's care, they don't see the same behavior that the father
And they
does.
love them.
And
they love them. They love each parent the way they should. And when we put that negative thought within their heads and within their mind, I see sometimes it really backfires on that person who is instilling those negative thoughts, because they, again, like you said, they don't see that happening.
Because when you are feeling unloved, or when you're feeling some lack within yourself and your whole of yourself, you can't see the future, and you don't really see the result of your actions. You just need to be filled up at this moment. And what happens more often, like I said, everyone experiences another person differently. And so the relationship that the husband and wife had is not the same relationship the child is going to have with the father, or the child is going to have with the mother. Just look in your own family if you have siblings. If you have more than one child in your family and you ask one daughter, what is her opinion of her dad? And you ask another son, what is your opinion of that same dad? You're going to get two different perspectives, because they relate differently. And so when a parent filters that child and doesn't give respect to that child to be able to have a relationship with the other parent, it's a huge disservice. And children gonna grow up. They really are going to grow up. And when they grow up, they become able to analyze what happened to them when they were children. And you are going to be their parent, both of you, forever.
Correct.
Not just until the court says 18 years old and I can move on. You're their parent forever. And so when that child grows up and starts to see, wow, my mom took me away from my dad because she was hurting, they now have a choice. Are they going to ostracize you and alienate you now because of what you did to them through their childhood? Or are they going to be loving and forgiving and try and understand? That's a toss of the coin.
It really is. And kids, I always think about that. Your kids will grow up. It's just like the single parent who now is either fatherless or motherless because the father or the mother decides they don't want to play a role. And then that child grows up and sees exactly at that time make a decision. I didn't think to decide to make the choice to say I'm going to tell my son or daughter how the relationship broke up, how what we decide to fight over, and how angry I was with their dad or how angry he was with me. I decided to take a positive approach when I faced this and said I'm going to sit down and make a parental agreement. This is where we're going to discuss our agreements and say, this is our time, this is our parenting time, how we want to raise our kids, and we have to sit there and discuss. I wanted to get that out right in the first beginning so we have a roadmap to follow. I don't want to go to court every 5 minutes when we have a disagreement. Why can't we just talk it out?
Exactly. And sometimes, you do need to go to court if there are, like I said, some real dangers in your child's life, where there's some real disagreements that can't be resolved. But you're right. You should be able to at least attempt to talk. And I have a wonderful friend. Her name is Ellie Izzo. She does collaborative divorce. And just like you said, at the beginning is when you want to try and say, okay, we're separating, but let's put our child's interests first and try and come up with a parenting plan.
I think even if you're not divorced and you're a single parent who was not married and you have a child, that plan still needs to be put in place, because you're going to have your different views and values. When you were together, it was okay. We fixed it. We worked it out. That was perfect. But now we're not together, and all of a sudden they've changed. Their views are not how my views are. So we have to have the same structure come in, and when we lay it down line by line to say, this is how we're going to work. It's just like a contractual agreement to say, if we are frustrated with each other, how we approach this with each other, not our child. We don't use our children for shields.
Right.
We don't, that person hasn't changed since you divorced them or married them or dated them or whatever else. But our views of how we see each other has changed, and that's where the guilt comes in place. And that's why I've always said, hey, let's sit down. Let's talk about it one-on-one. I don't want our children to see us fighting, because I don't want them to grow up and think it's okay to fight with their wife or girlfriend because of these issues. You are listening to The Pulse on KFNX 1100. If you would like to call in, our number is 602-277-KFNX. And we are speaking on parent alienation and dealing with co-parenting. How do we focus on co-parenting? And we will focus more on that when we come back from the break. Again, you're listening to The Pulse on KFNX. If you'd like to call with your comments, 602-277-KFNX.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mike Vaquera at the White House. Vice President Joe Biden is on the campaign trail in Manchester, New Hampshire. He attacked Republicans for their support of tax breaks for the wealthy.
Extension of the tax break, they want us to put it in perspective, gives $500 billion to 120,000 families.
NBC's Peter Alexander is traveling with the Mitt Romney campaign in California.
Today, while the president heads to Wisconsin to try to fortify his support there, Mitt Romney will largely be raising money. He's trailing in the polls and now increasingly trailing on the money front as well.
In his weekly media address, President Obama accused lawmakers of being more worried about their own jobs than their constituents. Congress has left Washington for a 7-week election break. Next month, the U.S. Justice Department will begin holding summits around the nation to warn people about the mounting number of investment fraud cases. Victims are often elderly, and many lose their retirement savings. This is NBC News Radio.
Hi, everybody. Jim Howe from the KFNX Weather Center. Well, we're still going through a hot weekend, well above normal for this time in September. 104 to 106 today and tomorrow. First of the week, though, some cooler air finally. Monday is 100. Middle of the week, mid to upper 90s. Jim Howe, Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX.
Thanks, Jimmy. Currently here in Midtown, we are holding steady at 91 degrees. Our next news will be in 30 minutes or when it breaks. You're listening to Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX. I'm Chet Reynolds, and you're up to date.
Are you one of the two-thirds in Phoenix underwater on your mortgage? Does stress about money keep you up at night? If so, there's a 10-year-old multi-million-dollar wellness company in Chandler that is thriving in this down economy. Over the past 3 years, they've experienced over 600% growth, and they're looking for motivated individuals just like you that want to earn extra income. They have full and part-time professionals making $500,000 to $100,000 a month. Nothing comes close to this opportunity. Listen to this.
Hi, this is Kelly from Washington. I made over $1,000 in my first month and over $25,000 in my first 90 days, and my income continues to skyrocket.
So call now, 800-494-1276. That's 800-494-1276, or visit thrivinginaz.com to learn more about this amazing company. Stop stressing about money. Improve your life with a company that has experienced over 600% growth. Call 800-494-1276. That's 800-494-1276, or visit thrivinginaz.com.
Singleton's Real Health Outpatient and Wellness Centers provide housing resources to those in need. We also offer treatment services in the areas of mental health, physical well-being, counseling, advocacy, education, and empowerment for independence. We work with other care providers and businesses to provide total care for the mind and body. Call 602-626-8150. Singleton's Real Health Outpatient and Wellness Centers, devoted to empowering our community. To see if we can be of help to you, call 602-626-8150.
I love you, son, so it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the Total Transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-535-3844. 1-888-535-3844. Call now. Call 1-888-535-3844. 1-888-535-3844.
Hello and welcome back to The Pulse. Today we are talking about child or parental alienation and co-parenting. And my guest today is ShaRon Rea, author and founder of The Whole Family. she works with divorced couples, families, teenagers, so on, the just total family, and life coaching. When we went off, we were kind of, again, discussing about, setting some boundaries. And when we were talking off the air, we talked about setting boundaries as far as when, a lot of parents go, they're just not listening. I'm constant in battle with them. It's not fair that I have to pay to see my children. There's all of these things. Oh, my ex used to call me for every little thing. Every correction. They did this, they did that. Come pick them up. This and I would run every time. And going back to that, set policies that we put in that parental contract that we said we were going to follow, I just let it go. And then I had to really go back to and say, hey, we have to focus back on what we talked about. And I've always felt like I'm not going to take away your time. I want the children to be a part of you and be with you and associate. So all the time you need to have, if I can have it open, I'm not going to say it's my time, it's your time, it's her time. I say, oh, you want to take them to the park or you want to do that? That is fine. But that's not everyone. No. Everyone do not have that relationship. A lot of people can't communicate, or that those hurts and boundaries are there. And go ahead, as you were talking about boundaries and not a perfect relationship anymore. And it wasn't a perfect relationship for me in the beginning. It was a lot of work. And now I'm at a place where there's some stability.
Right. Well, I think sometimes we think of parents as a title that doesn't include a human behind it. We come to the parenting job as who we are, and we come with our skills, we come with our lack of skills. And in most jobs, when you have a job, you go learn how to do that job. And often we as parents, we think, well, I had this child, so I'm just going to figure it out. And you will benefit by having some parent skills learned. There are places that can teach you how to co-parent. I am one of them. I offer parenting, and it's not just co-parenting, it's cooperative parenting. And cooperative parenting means, first of all, that you're going to think about cooperating with this other person who is your child's other parent forever. Yes.
That is true.
It's not a relationship that's going to end at a certain age or a certain point. Once you've made a person, that person belongs to the both of you forever. Right. And so from that, you want to learn how to have some relationship with yourself that causes you to create healthy boundaries for you, so that when that other parent is stomping on your rights or is asking you, as you were mentioning on the break, to come over when the child is hurt, because I want to be the happy parent and I only want to be there when things are fun. So I want you to come in and be the disciplinary. You need to know as yourself that that is a boundary that has been crossed, and I'm going to set it up again. And once you do set up healthy boundaries for yourself, and again, it begins with looking at your own person. Where are your fears? Where are your angers? Where are your sad points? What is it that's all about me that someone else is touching those points and making me angry or making me react in a certain way? And when you come from the place of, I refuse to fight, I don't have to engage with you.
Correct.
When you're coming at me at a certain place. I mean, you have a choice. Just because that person is offering you this argument, you don't have to accept it. And when you do that, it causes people naturally to treat you differently. They'll either move away because they're not winning, you're not engaging in a battle, or they'll come to the table and work with you, or someplace in between.
Yeah, and they're all constantly, if you're constantly seeking that battle, I do tell my friends or associates that I'm talking to about this is stop fighting. Doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you are backing down. It means that you have made a decision not to fight, not to cause these problems, and to say, okay, now I'm going to see what they do. And how this, like you said, the change in response, they either go away or they come to the table to talk to you at least for a minute. And we have a caller on the line, Alan from Maryland. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question for us?
Yeah, I do. I am. I guess I'm a single parent who feels very alienated from my 25-year-old daughter. You all had mentioned some things earlier about, I guess, the child support issue and issues of fear. I feel very empty right now, and I feel that I've done somewhat of a disservice to my child. And I also feel like I've done a disservice to her mother as well. We were never married, but we didn't seem to be able to communicate very effectively early on in my child's life. And I'm just wondering now, even though it'll be kind of painful for me, should I make an earnest attempt to enter into my child's life, my daughter's life, my young daughter's life? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Alan,
Very good
was
question.
it? Yeah, for
Yes.
your question. And may I first offer my sincere hope for you that you find some peace at the moment and that you do make a choice that's personal to you. I'd like to offer my opinion. My opinion is that there is always hope. No matter what has happened, transpired before, no matter how long it's been, I think you mentioned 25 years,
Yes.
there's
Yes.
always a time to begin again. And that starts with a choice within yourself. And from my opinion, it would also include lessening or deleting any expectation. And to come at this possible reconciliation with your daughter or attempt to have a conversation with her or her mother based on what you want to achieve for yourself, recognizing that it's going to be two people working at it. Your daughter has had enough time where she hasn't had you in her life. You don't know where her place is. She may be wishing and hoping that you were there. That could possibly be her thought. She may have a different thought based on being with her mom for so long. As Elizabeth and I spoke before, children, when they grow up, they have an opportunity to choose a different thought, no matter what their parent has told them over time. So I personally would encourage you to search your soul and see if that's something that you can find a way, get some conversation with other people. I'd be happy to speak with you. And find a place where you can begin a conversation with her, either writing a letter, sending an email if you know that, calling her if you have her number, maybe starting out with a letter so that you don't have to receive anything that you're not ready for. And just give her your thoughts.
And another thought on that with as we go older, sometimes we really want that parent to say, "I'm sorry." We want to hear that come from them, and then sometimes you may not want to hear, again, what Miss Maria said, what the child has to say. It may be hurtful for you, and so you have to prepare yourself for that, because they may have a lot of things to say to you. It's never too late to try, because children, no matter if we're 25, 30, or 40 years old, we still want to be accepted by our parents, loved by them, and even if you don't have that connection that goes through with your child, you have started a release process for yourself, a healing process for yourself to move forward.
And Mr. Sweat, I also want to talk about a little bit of energy. People feel energy whether you're standing next to them or not. And in your quiet time, in your home, you can think good thoughts about your daughter. You can have this conversation even without her being there and come to a place of comfort for yourself. And guaranteed, somewhere in her soul, she will feel that. And that may open the door for her to receive whatever communication you'd like to begin with her.
So,
well, I want to. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I want to thank you both. Very much. You've given me something to kind of let marinate for a while, because this is something that I've been thinking about for some time, and I just want to thank you both. And I'll continue to listen to the broadcast, but thanks so much.
Thank you, and thank you for your call. Just that's a good question, because kids are. Even myself, I had a relationship with my dad, and then it went off. As I grew up and as I'm growing up now, I still want that connection. And I try to go for it as many times as I can. I think my dad feels a lot of guilt inside of himself, and I just want to let him know each time I see him. I don't tell it to him, but I try to show it to them that I do forgive you. I understand what happened in that relationship. So that was a very good call. And if you would like to call us and get your question on the air, you can, or comments at 602-277-KFNX, 602-277-5369. Or if you're calling, our toll-free number is 1-866-536-1100. Thank you for listening to The Pulse. We'll be back after the break.
My clients have personally called to thank me because they haven't lost any money in their annuities. In fact, many are earning nice returns right now. Hi, this is Steve Lance, author of Annuities, a 21st Century Pension Plan. If you're tired of stock market losses in your 401k or your investment accounts, my book is a roadmap on how to immediately stop the losses and quickly recover so you can enjoy the retirement you've planned for. You deserve some good news, so call me at 800-445-2516, 800-445-2516, or go to AskMrAnnuity.com and get your roadmap to retirement.
London Gold, it's the best.
There are inspiring moments in life, and buying a diamond for your engagement ring is one of them. At London Gold, we're giving you the opportunity to get a diamond with higher clarity, brighter color, and larger size. And now you can buy your diamond accompanied with a certificate for direct dealer cost. That's right, your diamond for the same price dealers pay all across the nation. Direct dealer cost. With London Gold's reputation, it is not surprising you get the finest cut of polished diamonds from us. A diamond for direct dealer's cost just makes it that much better. London Gold, serving the Valley with 3 locations: Arrowhead, Chandler, and Scottsdale. You can also visit us online at londongold.com.
London Gold, it's the best.
Singleton's Real Health Outpatient and Wellness Centers provide housing resources to those in need. We also offer treatment services in the areas of mental health, physical well-being, counseling, advocacy, education, and empowerment for independence. We work with other care providers and businesses to provide total care for the mind and body. Call 602-626-8150. Singleton's Real Health Outpatient and Wellness Centers, devoted to empowering our community. To see if we can be of help to you, call 602-626-8150.
I always want to dance when I hear that sound coming back onto the show. Good morning. Welcome back to The Pulse. I'm your host, Elizabeth Singleton, and my guest today is ShaRon Rea. She's an author and founder of The Total Family, or The Whole Family. I always want to say that's the total part of us, but The Whole Family. We were discussing, we had a caller that called in about reaching out to their child after so many years, and that kind of touched me, because reaching out to your family, your child, whether you're male or female, at this point in time, to come back and try to integrate yourself into your child's life, it is a difficult process. A lot of us we're scared of that. We don't want to have the difficulties or come up to a child saying you've never been there, or be called a deadbeat parent, deadbeat dad, deadbeat mom, whatever the case is. But they really need you, and if you're a healthy parent, you're not gonna come in your life because you're on drugs and you feel guilty, or you're an unbalanced person, but a person who feels not perfection, but you want to have a relationship with your child. They need you. They need that relationship with you. It is very important till this day how much I think about how much I needed my father around me, how much I needed my mother around me. And it was an isolation on both parts when I was with one parent and with the other parent. It's not fair to the children for you to feel that it's your right to demand on another person unless that person is not capable of being a responsible person. And to isolate them, to take them to court every 5 minutes because you didn't like that they dyed your child's hair red, and now you're going to be in court, and you didn't like the fact that the child was brought over to a new girlfriend or boyfriend's house. That is not parenting. That is your own emotional conflict with yourself and anger. It's time to move forward. It is time to. We don't want all these spoiled, unbalanced children all over the place. These are our future. Fighting and creating this gap that keeps a person in court. I mean, how much money is spent into that system that isolates a child? Okay, so I could be paying for my child's tuition to college, but I am constantly fighting that person in court. I am constantly proving myself. I have to tell my child I'm a bad person. No, I didn't take that or didn't do that because of your own issues. That's an unbalance for all of us. That's an unbalance for our future. I don't want to see those children grow up and raise another generation of fighting parents. It doesn't balance out for them. So, you know, I can get all nuts about this because I owned a child care center and I saw it constantly. I'm going to make him pay. I'm going to make her pay. Oh, we're fighting. I took those clothes off of him. Who cares what they put on them? Are they loving them? Are they caring for them? Are they being responsible?
And I'd like to remind us all as parents that what we do matters.
Mm-hmm.
Our children are looking to us to determine how to live in their world.
Mm-hmm.
And their character comes from how we behave in and of our own selves and how we interact with other people. They are watching us.
Yeah.
They are listening and they are absorbing. And so if your intent can move past your own pain and your own anger to know that you want to raise a healthy young adult that can move through their world with joy and thrive and have healthy relationships, then you need to do the work on yourself first.
And when you say with pain, I don't belittle the pain of someone cheating on you within a relationship and now you're divorced or they've caused you some great pain within the relationship. That is never to be ignored because it is there, but that's not the fault of your children.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean that makes he or she a bad parent.
Right.
It may be a character problem, but it doesn't mean it makes them a bad parent, and you can't continue to bring that down on your child.
Exactly.
And as far as with you have this book, Children and Divorce. What brought you to writing this book? And you know, I know you wanted to read the excerpt from, I think your one of your children helped you create this.
Yes. Oh, may I?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh my goodness, that would be so awesome. My older daughter was 15 at the time of our divorce, and thank you everyone who's listening for giving me the honor of reading her words. This is her personal reaction to divorce as an excerpt from my book, Children and Divorce, Parenting Tips to Help Your Family Cope and Adjust. And just to give parents a perspective of what the child is thinking. When you are a little kid growing up, you spend a lot of time thinking about the rest of your life. You make plans about what kind of career you will have, how your schooling will go, whom you will marry, and what your family will be like. When you grow up, you look back on that time and realize that almost nothing went as you planned. However, that does not mean your life was terrible and you should be lobbying for a do-over. It simply means that life happens and certain things are out of your control. I think that is what every child who goes through a divorce experience needs to understand. At 15 years old, I learned this lesson firsthand when my parents told me they were getting divorced. I can still see us all sitting at the living room after dinner, trying to deal with the big announcement. One thing that struck me was my younger sister, who was 9 at the time, saying, "I thought I was going to be one of the lucky ones whose parents stayed together, but you guys ruined that."
Oh, wow. That is an emotional piece. And that is, I mean, to see it in the eyes of a child. So this is what took you through this process.
Absolutely. When you are together, and when my family was together, I had a particular perspective about how I was parenting. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I thought my job was to do everything. Well, now as I was a single mom, I couldn't do everything.
Yeah.
It just wasn't
No.
real.
No,
and
it's
I
not.
realized that some of the parenting perspective that I have for my daughters, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I'll get your food, or oh, yes, I'll make your lunch, was not in line with growing up a child and letting them be independent.
Correct.
So I had to shift and change my own perspective. And I was watching behaviors. When your child sometimes has a lot of anger or has a lot of emotion, they don't have an outlet. And it sometimes shows up as a physical ailment. And my daughter would constantly complain about a headache. So taking her to the doctor when there were no real reasons for her headache, I realized, oh my goodness, it's the environment in my home. So that caused me to want to write a book that is very small and detailed.
It's pocket. I can take it anywhere with me.
You can take
Yeah.
it anywhere, and it goes through children's age ranges from when they're little ones all the way up really to young adults, because people are divorcing at 60 and 70 years old. And remember, you're a parent forever, which
Correct.
means your child is your child forever.
And they say it affects an older child more than it would a younger child.
And in different ways.
Correct.
I mean, before, when the two parents were together, the child didn't have to think about who's going to care for mom and dad when they're sick. Now that they're divorced, they're not going to want to care for each other. So that becomes the thought process for that older child, which is an effect of the divorce that you don't think about.
Well, and then again, as we discussed, you know, when you're going through a divorce, or if you've been a parent that is now single, or you may have I consider them still deadbeats that decides that, hey, I don't want to be a part of my child's life, or hey, I want to skip out. But there are good parents that want to formulate that relationship. You may not always agree. I understand. I may not always agree with you. You understand. I hope you would understand.
And what you're teaching your child is how to resolve conflict, because as children grow, when they're teenagers, their brains have not fully developed. They don't usually develop fully. For boys, it's late 20s. Girls, it's middle 20s. And so what you model, what you show them by your behavior is what becomes the connectors in their brain. And if you show them, yes, mom and dad are no longer together. We had a relationship that didn't work. But we are moving to resolve that conflict and find a way to be whole for you so that we can guide you. That teaches your child, oh my goodness, there's hope in my world.
Correct.
My world doesn't have to stay this way.
And we want to see that so much unbalance with depression and eating problems and feeling complete, and, you know, what did I do wrong? And you didn't do anything wrong, because we are still talking to each other. At least if you have to fake it till you make it, sometimes I say, hey, do it. Not in front of the children. I refuse to have this discussion in front of the children, and I don't even raise my voice when I say it, and I just say, let's have a different conversation. But for our audience, if they wanted to get in touch with you and know more about you and what the programs that you provide, and then a few of you say you had a couple of other resources to give, why don't you do that before we head off the show?
Okay, my name is ShaRon Rea. I am the founder and owner of The Whole Family. It's parent coaching and mentoring. You can find me on the web at www.thewholefamilycoaching.com. You can also purchase my book, Children and Divorce, Parenting Tips to Help Your Family Cope and Adjust, right from that website. The two other people that I'd like to mention are Ron LaSorsa. He's based in New York. He has a program called Kids Come First Coalition. His address is divorcecures.com. And Ellie Izzo from Arizona, who does collaborative divorce. So you can begin this process of cooperating with your former spouse right at the beginning.
And just remember that, you know, we also have a radio show that we help single fathers, and you can catch us on Facebook at Proud Single Fathers Help Wanted and Resources. Thank you for listening to The Pulse. Thank you for, Sharif, for coming on and talking to our audience about this. This is very important to me. You can catch us next week on The Pulse at KFNX 1100, or come to our website, thepulseaz.com. I'm your host. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Be blessed, and thank you. I'm partying. I love that music.